Hello, this is DocPenguinDoc, and today I have for you the YT-608. This is a custom YT series freighter that is based off of the frame of 608 Inc. Royal Freighter. JW608 issued a challenge to rebuild his Royal Freighter, and so that's what I've done. I've rebuilt it in the style of YT series ship, which is the series of ships such as the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. On the outside you can see some similarities. There's docking ports left and right. We have a laser cannon on the top and the bottom. We have the dish, similar to the Millennium Falcon. We also have this bridge section, which is of a similar shape. Mostly what I did is just mishmash parts together from both my Millennium Falcon and my CR-90 Corvette, which is also a Corellian ship. So the dish is from a CR-90 Corvette. If we take a look at the engines back here, the central one is similar to the Millennium Falcon, or more like the YT-2400, but the outer engines are miniaturized versions of the CR-90 engine pods. Down at the bottom here we have a laser turret taken straight off of my CR-90, as well as an escape pod that is a slightly modified version, similar to it with the laser cannon anyway. Apart from that, most of it is pretty original. The interior design is slightly reminiscent of the Millennium Falcon, with brown curved hallways. And with that, let's get into the inside. Coming up to the port airlock, we can see that it is near the rear of the ship. There's an identical version on the starboard side, they're just mirrored. It's got a universal dock and this plex door. It'll be red when it's unsealed, blue when it's good to go. You can open it. Also, if you open it, the outer airlock, the inner door will shut. You can still open it if you need to, but it's just in case, or just for extra features, I suppose. There's gravity both in and outside of the airlock. Close that back up. In the back here, you come out into the engineering section. So here's just some storage area. The main storage block to access all of it is in the bridge. We also have the hyperdrive and engine system back here, as well as some tubing going into this escape pod. Then we have more storage and the adjacent area, not adjacent, but the identical airlock. In the middle here is this escape pod. It has seating for the entire crew, 3 top. Can't quite cross sides. I'll have to fix that, but the ladder going down, seating for 2 more, as well as the faction block, a camera, some fictional, I suppose, controls for the laser turret down there. This button will launch the escape pod, that button will launch the escape pod, and as soon as it launches, these plex doors will close, but I'll launch it later, not right now. Coming up to sort of the middle of the ship, we have the elevator and some hallways. Both of these go into rooms adjacent to this hangar bay. My sort of reasoning for why this ship has a hangar bay, which is somewhat of a departure from a freighter ship, is this vessel is used by the Rebellion to sort of fix various ships on the go. So here we have a little maintenance workshop where they can make repairs, sort of off to the side of a battle, as well as on the other side is some more storage for spare parts. This one has its own individual storage module, which has about 5,000 units. Some crates. We got a spare cannon, which we can see on the side of the A-wing, as well as another canopy. Up here we have controls for the tractor beam at the front of the ship. There's also some medical stuff in here in the maintenance workshop. Some missile storage. We don't actually have missiles, it's just for refilling possible ships that come through. We also have the rail computer for pretty much the entire ship. Then these hallways just lead into both of the rooms to the side of the hangar bay. And this hangar bay has 2 A-wings already docked inside of it. You just enter it through there. And it does have an auto launch sequence, so you're not just stuck manually trying to maneuver it through. I can close right back up. The only other thing on this deck would be the ramp. This ramp goes all the way down to the ground. Uses Plex because there was not really any way to fit a full ramp into that height. And it'll spin back up. Got a little window so you can see the outside of the hangar bay, as well as the other side, and a bit of the tractor beam. There's also a ladder, which can get quick access right up to the bridge if you're coming up from the ramp here. Moving on to the upper deck, the elevator, which brings us up here. Here we can see hangar bay. This blast door button will open not only the shield in front of the control tower, but also the main door. So this way, like if this is closed, you'll know definitely not to launch a fighter. I mean, it'll work, it'll just get stuck against the door. But launching a fighter, it'll always launch the left one first, unless if there isn't a left one docked, then it'll launch the right one. Took me quite a while to get this to work properly, but if we go back into the menu and recall, first A-wing will pop in. This one will automatically come to the left side. Or not. You know, it works, so I'm not going to complain. But, you get, yeah, so one docks, recall the other one, which just gets shot off until that properly lands. And it should go to the other side. There we go. Even if you just fire off the left one, then it'll redock to the left side. If the right one happens to fire off first for some reason, it'll redock to the right side. It should work, hopefully. Just don't spam the button. Also, if the elevator is not on your floor, you can see there's not a button to call it. You just have to walk in front of it. Just got a motion sensor. Off of this little control hangar, there is 2 brown hallways that lead up to the bridge sections. We'll look at those last. But in the back here, there is a tunnel here, as well as a tunnel here, which just lead into the crew section, sort of. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bunks, crewmates. We have a small little kitchen here, stove, sink, sort of fridge type thing. We have the faction module, the bathroom with some medical stuff, a shower, toilet, sink, mirror. We have a little workstation right here. We have the standard holochess table. Here we have a little dining table for the crew, as well as some window views to look outside of the ship. But moving up to the front of the ship, there's windows along these hallways to look out. There's also windows in this observation area. That's really all this is. There's not too much going on here. Just 2 chairs and a lot of view. You can also see the intersection. Instead of going all the way around, there's also this sort of maintenance walkway across the top, which is just a shortcut. Here you can access the bridge. You can lock the bridge down so that it won't open. Got seating for 4. This is pretty much just a direct copy paste from the Millennium Falcon with a slightly different window setup. But here you can operate the boarding ramp, the blast shield, which is all the windows throughout the ship. They have blast shields over them. the hangar door, which is the plex in front of that. This is marked as unequipped. Basically, you could have another function here, but there just is nothing there right now. These are the floodlights in the front, which are right down there, basically. And we have the landing gear. There's also gravity here underneath the computer if you just hop into the core. And here's the storage. So 76,000 units combined with the 6 or so across 2 other storage modules is all of the cargo in the ship. Also, yeah, that's just the lock bridge one. There we go. But yeah, then there's this ladder, which is just quick access down to the boarding ramp. But hopping into the core of the ship, you can also see that we have the turrets. These turrets, in terms of view, they do full 360 and just almost 180, so they do have a pretty good view. There's also this rear turret here. This one does not go up or down, it only swivels in a circle. Shoots just has a single cannon, rapid fire, only 1 block. This one, triple barrel. Take a look at the systems. It's 100% speed, 120 DPS. Moving into the primary ship, take a look at its systems. Just line it back up. Build mode. Structure. General. But as far as power goes, it's just shy of the 300 reactor blocks. There is only the 1 stabilizer group. Thrusters, we have 4,000 thrust, 425 max speed, 3.2 thrust to mass ratio. Shields, there's just the 1 primary unit with 53,000 capacity and 700 recharge. As far as weapons go, there's no missiles, so that's unimportant. That's just for the turrets, and that's the faction. Not sure if I gave a good look at the bottom. Not a whole lot going on here. Here's the button to access the ramp. I'll take a look at the systems in a second, though, the rail functions that I need. Right here, we have the tractor beam right here. So this one, if we take a look, it has 790, or no, yeah, 790 tractor power. The rear one is the tow hitch, basically, which was on his original ship, but this time it's just a tractor beam. This one, you can see when using the power, it uses almost all your power. This one has quite a lot more size to it. It's got 2,000 plus tractor power, almost 2,300. This one is a lot weaker. This one's just for sort of moving cargo around, whereas this one's straight up towing a ship. We have the jump drive, which is maxed out if we take a look at our reactor. Full jump drive. Reactor base enhancement. We have mobility, so top speed 2. A short range scanner base for the dish. And we also have some anti-lock on. It's only for 10 seconds, but should be good to try and get a missile off of you. We have the scanner. Right now it's just showing the stuff in the docks. You can also see stuff up there. Then we also have this rail turret axis, so you can control all of these turrets. We can just hop into build mode. You can see spins them all around, so you can control them all remotely. They should fire too, yep. So that's kind of how you just shoot the laser cannons. That's the only weaponry it really has. Just press C to reset the orientation. And we've got the docks, left side, right side, port and starboard. That's all of the sort of real systems, but as far as the rail systems, we have our landing gear. So this puts out 6 docking feet. It's kind of front heavy as far as the docking legs go, but there's no real thought into how the mass is distributed necessarily. We have the boarding ramp in the front. It's a very chunky ramp. It's just kind of how it worked out being, but uses Plex to finish going all the way down to the surface. Next up we have the blast shield, so these are the ones over all the windows. Also does these two. All those ones on that side and that window too. This is the hangar door blast shield as well as the control tower on the inside. Then we have the launch fighters, which I already showed off, but I'm just launching again for the sake of doing it. It's a very tight fit, so they do kind of exit a bit wonky. Also not sure how exactly to make them not launch backwards. It's just kind of how they seem to do it. Closing up all the landing gear. We also have the escape pod. It's quite a bit longer than you might expect. We try and catch it before it goes away. It's got some windows, I think 3 total, 4 maybe. 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. We also have these floodlights, kind of similar to the Falcon has. And then if we do some carrier recall, the escape pod and a fighter is going to come back. That one got rejected. So the escape pod is back in. Fighter's back in. Bring back the other fighter. Also, something I didn't show about the escape pod if we launch it again. There's a blast door thing that'll close so that you don't just fall straight through the floor down there. Then if we recall the escape pod, it will open back up and enter back into the ship. There's also a sort of, this is where a lot of the cargo is, in this upper section. It's not accessible or in any way, it's just extra space, but it's all segmented off, so it's technically a separate room in a way, but there's no walls or anything, or no access. That's where most of the storage comes from. This dish here has an identical docking port over here, so theoretically you could just switch off this dish, switch on some cannons. It's basically just a docking point for them. Believe that pretty much covers the ship, but I do also, right up here, have the actual Millennium Falcon, as well as the other Royal Freighter rebuilds, just sort of for a sense of scale. The Millennium Falcon, at least my version anyway, they're actually a pretty similar size, which is kind of one reason I got inspiration to do a YT series version of it. So yeah, it's got the vents, the turret, these docking ports. All my Corellian ships have this same similar shape anyway of docking ports, so you could just have a giant chain of Corellian ships. It's got this center mandible type thing. The mandibles, in a sense, are the cockpits in this case. But yeah, the cockpit's pretty much a copy and paste, just with a different window job. The interior of the cockpit is identical. Looking at sort of the interior design of the Falcon, we've got these same brown hallways throughout the ship, but also some just more cold gray areas. We've also got these crew bunks, the jump drive area, so pretty similar design wise. And even if we spawn in a Tanev, just bring us up closer to that. You can see here, seeing as they're both Corellian ships, this much bigger version of this engine pod. They're pretty much direct relatives. These dishes are pretty much the same, this one just being a tad smaller. Got the same docking ring as well, being a Corellian ship. And then these escape pods have the identical turrets, so a bunch of Corellian design cues, I suppose. Apart from that, everything else is based on the shape of JW's original freighter, which I have back here. So I'd say the main differences: no windows for his port, cockpit section, whatever you want to call this thing. And obviously this one is refitted to have a hangar instead of proper cargo mandibles to push cargo. And as far as this entire lower section, this is essentially what the hangar became. No more pushing capabilities, but it does have the tractor beam right here. But on the back of JW's, right here, a hitch comes down that you can dock things to. That's essentially what this is right here. That's the equivalent of the hitch. This doesn't have any weapons, but the turrets are just because it's a YT series frigate. The docking port, he only has one on the port side, but I have one on both the port and the starboard for the sake of symmetry. I'm keeping up with the Corellian theme. Interior-wise, I don't think it's similar much in any way. I mean, I've got all the blast doors on the windows, and I've got 2 decks, but that's pretty much about it. Crew lounge, kitchen in the same room, but more or less different. As far as stats go, I haven't actually looked necessarily. If we put ships back on the list, just take a look at shields and thrust. So max thrust 3.2, 425, 53,000 shields. He's got 37,000, 2.3 and 380. So overall lesser. It's also not got the tractor beams. Not sure where his cargo access is. I found the cargo, so 31,000, so quite a significant lower amount of cargo, but that's partially because I boosted it with my inaccessible section, which my logic is just there's some cargo pumps or something, or cargo's pumped in through these ports right here into that section, so. But overall, that is my version or take, I suppose, on the Royal Frigate, interpreted as a YT series ship called the YT-608 for self-evident reasons. And I'm going to leave that there. I'll see you later.